Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're 4 months away, and already there's drama with Detroit's city council race. Now, unofficially, there are 45 people vying for 9 seats on the council. The vote for those seats will happen on August 5th. Until then, candidates have to make their pitch to voters, proving to us they're the best person for the job. But to do that, it helps to make it on the ballot. That's why District 6 City Council member Gabriela Santiago-Romero is upset right now. The candidate is suing the Detroit City Clerk office and Clerk Janice Winfrey for what she says is an undemocratic removal. Journalist Sam Robinson runs the Substack Detroit 1 Million, and he's been covering the story. Sam, welcome back to the Metro.
Hey, Robin, thanks for having me.
So, Sam, Wayne County says that council member Santiago-Romero filed an October 2024 campaign finance report too late, resulting in a $250 fine. She needed to pay off the fine before signing an affidavit attesting that no late fees were owed. The council member says she wasn't informed of the fee. Is this basically what went wrong? The council member submitted campaign materials late and didn't pay a late fee required to the city, and that ultimately got her removed from the ballot?
Well, it's not that she turned the form in late. It's that she turned in the wrong form initially. Once they had notification that that was, in fact, the wrong filing, they promptly, I think it was the same day that they were notified, turned in the correct filing. Now, that late fee for the filing that they didn't turn in still applied. They feel like that should no longer apply, and that's what the court is going to decide this week. I think we're going to learn a little bit more from the Third Circuit Court. This has kind of been very political on the side of the campaign. Robin, you just spoke about her using the phrases like undemocratic, and this could disenfranchise voters. A lot of people at the city elections department are looking up and saying, if you had turned in your filing correctly, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Sam, actually, that is something I'm wondering about. Can you speak specifically to any official response from the city about the lawsuit?
Sure. Well, on Monday, I got word from Danielle Baxter. She is one of the chief administrators at the elections department under Janice Winfrey. We haven't heard yet from Janice Winfrey. She is the Detroit city clerk, and she is the party being sued by Gabby's campaign. We heard from Gabby's campaign at Clark Park last week, and they feel like this issue should be resolved without litigation. Because of the threat of litigation, we could not get much from the county. Wayne County spokesperson Dorian Tyus gave us sort of a synopsis, which was similar to what we heard from Danielle Baxter on Monday, which is she turned in the wrong form last year, never paid the late fee before signing that affidavit, and Michigan law clearly states you got to have all of your fines and fees paid before officially filing as a candidate.
Sam, So basically, this is a familiar story, I can say as well, for me as a journalist. When the word litigation is involved and you're trying to get people from the government, local, state leaders, whomever, to respond, you don't get much. So that's kind of where we're at right now in terms of what we're hearing from the city, it sounds like. I want to go back to the event that Santiago-Romero held on Friday, announcing that she'll sue Detroit City Clerk office and Clerk Janice Winfrey. Sure. Sam, you were at that event. Here's some tape that you got of Romero.
I am currently living a candidate's worst nightmare. Yet I feel confidence will be okay because our records show we submitted our campaign finance on time. The same report Wayne County accepted on November 8th and didn't give us a notice of error or a notice of amendments when we filed it on October 25th. It is a shame that we have to fight to remain on the ballot because the county has failed. Even more shameful that this deepens an already deep rift in public trust within our system.
Okay, Sam, we know the council members' points that the city made a mistake. But Santiago-Romero, she also said something interesting there, and that is that her case deepens public mistrust in government. Do you see this case as causing more mistrust, or do you think this is how the system normally is working?
It's interesting. One of the people that is on the ballot understand that Gabby, if she does mount a write-in campaign, which she says she will, she'll have to face Tyrone Carter. He's a longtime state rep. He's going to have money to campaign in Southwest. The other candidate that is on the ballot, Anita Martin, she is no longer, she tells me, connected to Lorenzo Sewell. He is the Republican voter fraud activist. We have heard for the past 5 years since Trump's 2020 election loss that we need to do audits and we need to, hold election officials accountable for whatever, sort of bizarre claim that people will come up with tomorrow. But I have heard a lot of supporters, Gabby Santiago-Romero supporters, wonder openly, I questioned this to Gabby and somebody representing her campaign. Is this political in nature? Do you feel like Janice Winfrey and Kathy Garrett conspired against you, Gabby, to help Tyrone Carter, who they've known for decades? Her campaign said no. Gabby didn't respond. But that is the feeling that a lot of her supporters are feeling. No evidence to support that. But yes, that is something that I have heard.
This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're talking about Detroit City Councilwoman Gabriela Santiago-Romero. She's been disqualified from the ballot for re-election and is in a legal dispute with the Detroit City Clerk's office to change that. We're speaking with journalist Sam Robinson. He's been covering the story for his Substack, Detroit 1 Million. Now, Sam, let's go a little bit deeper here and talk about some of the supporters that you spoke with, supporters of Councilmember Santiago-Romero. What do they say about the council member as a representative? What has she done for them? Why do they support her?
Yeah, I've talked to people in her district, her constituents, people like Sergio Martinez, who say, she is the best representation of Southwest and the large Hispanic community. I think Michigan's largest Hispanic community is in Southwest Detroit, there in District 6. I've talked to people like Reverend Larry Simmons. He's with Brightmoor Alliance. He certainly is not in District 6, but talks about the work that Gabby has done across the city. She is a very popular incumbent candidate. She is progressive, was a fighter for Palestine and Gaza when it was not popular to do so. She was a person criticizing openly and publicly the Kamala Harris campaign when they were not connecting with Black and Arab voters. So this is a person who, she's polarizing. She's popular among her constituents. There is this divide in Southwest Detroit, right, where you have the longtime Black residents and the Hispanic residents. Tyrone is sort of framing his campaign as filling the gap that Gabby's does not.
State Representative Tyrone Carter.
Yes.
One thing I do want to ask you, Sam, so what you're describing is, you said, someone who can be a bit polarizing. What then has Councilmember Santiago-Romero been able to get done? Has she been able to get a lot done despite being vocal and sometimes polarizing?
Yeah, they have, the council members are going to take credit for all the accomplishments in the pieces of legislation that they've forwarded and has been implemented by the mayor's administration. When you talk about environmentalism, when you talk about restorative justice issues that Gabby Santiago-Romero is going to tout in her campaign, I believe Gabby is the youngest member of the Detroit City Council. And when you go to, her community events, when you go to her press conference in Southwest at Clark Park last week, that's who you see. You're seeing, those members of that Southwest community spoke to members of Unite Here, the Local 24 group that represents the casino workers. She has deep ties with organizers and with progressive left Democrats in her district.
Now, Sam, in the case that Councilmember Santiago-Romero has to be a write-in candidate, how much do you think that could hurt her chances? Or do you think that this case might somehow give her more publicity to get her name and message out?
Well, it's going to be tough. This is why. She's not going to have a primary. There's only 2 candidates on the ballot, meaning there will be no primary to then become a person with ballot access in the general. Remember, Duggan got top 2 in that mayoral primary in 2013 as a write-in. That's why he appeared on the ballot as on the ballot. Mm-hmm. Gabby will not. She will have to write in, mount this write-in campaign in the general election. And a lot of folks that I talk to say that's really hard to do, and we've never seen it happen.
Mm. Okay, so you're seeing it as a major hurdle now. Sam, you've mentioned
it's going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of organization, and it's going to take it's going to take a lot of money.
Mm. The other candidates, you've mentioned them, who are running for District 6, that's State Representative Tyrone Carter and Anita Martin. I want you to talk about each of them, if you would, for just a moment, and how they compare and contrast them to Councilmember Santiago-Romero.
Yeah, Santiago-Romero is the most progressive. She is the person that has been working and organizing in progressive spaces. Tyrone Carter's main criticism from folks in his community is that he's backed by the Maroon family. Tyrone Carter has been a lawmaker for 30 years. We know him. He is going to talk about how he and Joe Tate helped repeal Michigan's retirement tax. So retirees are walking around with a little bit more money in their pocket. Tyrone, just like State Representative Helena Scott, they do not see a future within the Michigan legislature where they can deliver wins for Detroiters, and that's why they're running for city council. Anita Martin, as I had mentioned, she was connected to Lorenzo Sewell's church. I saw Anita at Gabby's event. She told me that Gabby should be placed on the ballot. She said everybody that is able to collect the required amount of signatures should be placed on the ballot. She used to be, she tells me she's not anymore. She says, make sure people know I am not connected to Lorenzo Sewell. But Lorenzo Sewell, of course, is the person that mocked Martin Luther King at Trump's inauguration. Lorenzo Sewell, of course, is the 180 church pastor who did a failed meme coin. That meme coin went nowhere. And he certainly didn't win a lot of folks over after that big viral moment that he had in D.C. at Trump's inauguration. Lorenzo Sewell took $5 million from the Trump campaign to host Donald Trump at his church last July during the campaign season. And so Anita Martin is going to have to really overcome. She tells me at Clark Park, to make sure people know I am not connected or associated with him. But Anita, you were with him, decrying absentee voting and claiming that Detroit's elections were rigged, which, Janice Winfrey and Jocelyn Benson, our Secretary of State of the state of Michigan, have dispelled. They have,
There's no evidence
Lorenzo
of that.
And no evidence. Lorenzo and another one of his associates, his name is Ramon Jackson. I did not see him make the District 2 ballot. He had pulled petitions for it. He was trying to run. So Anita comes out of that kind of circle. She does not have a large base. She does have supporters, but certainly, I do see it being difficult to mount a write-in campaign with 2 people on the ballot. I've heard from an elected official who told me Anita Martin's going to get more votes than Gabby if she has to mount a write-in campaign. So I don't think that's what people that I talk to that are going to support her, no matter what, they believe that they can win on the ballot or as a write-in. And I wouldn't discount them if I were Tyrone Carter. I don't think even with Gabby off the ballot, Tyrone is going to take the incumbent lightly.
Well, let's look for a moment, if we could, at the actual problems that people living in District 6 face, and of these candidates, who is speaking most to those problems and vowing to address them?
Yeah, I mean, you have an array of organizations. You got the Southwest Business Alliance. You got folks that are on the ground, the grassroots folks there. Like when I attend the information sessions about, know your rights is what I was looking for there. Know your rights campaign against ICE and the activity happening there. Tyrone Carter, he kind of plays both sides to that issue, understanding that he is going to get a lot of his votes from people who are not at risk of deportation or family members being deported by ICE. That is the main concern right now. The folks that I talk to in Southwest are scared. Some of them are scared. Some of them are looking at family members and wondering as they see some of these news headlines about the sort of ramped up aggressive activity by the
deportation efforts by federal immigration officers. Yep. Under Trump.
And so, we're going to hear Tyrone say, to hell with ICE. They're instilling fear in my community. While some of his supporters say about some of Gabby's supporters, can they even vote? Are they even citizens? And it's been this sort of rift between the black Southwest Detroit and the Hispanic Southwest Detroit.
That's interesting. Okay, we're going to have to speak with you again as this continues to unfold. Unofficially, there are 45 people vying for 9 seats. Before we let you go, Sam, what other things are you watching out for in these races? What really interests you?
One thing that you're going to hear first right here, this has not been reported, Robin. Helena Scott's name on the ballot was about to be listed as Harriet Scott. Helena has run. She is a state representative. She's running for District 2 City Council. I'm working on getting a comment from the Detroit City Clerk on this. It has been resolved. To my understanding, they had to get state intervention to resolve the issue, and there was an allegation of perhaps preferential treatment to the incumbent there in District 2 is Angela Whitfield Calloway. That is one of the things I'm thinking about.
And that is what the dynamics between, sorry, Sam, to cut you off there, but I just want to be clear. One thing you're thinking about is the dynamics between the city clerk's office and candidates running for office?
Yeah, there are questions that candidates have been having about whether or not the clerk is close to an incumbent or a member of their family, whether, in the case of Gabby's situation, we know that Kathy Garrett, the clerk, is a longtime Wayne County official. Tyrone Carter has operated in Detroit for a long time. People just assume that, they must be friends, right? No, they don't have any evidence of this. But that's what happened in this Helena Scott. Helena's first name is Harriet. She goes by Helena. On the ballot listed after she turned in, and through this whole process, we've been seeing Harriet Scott. If you go and look up the Detroit news story, I don't even think they realize they're talking about Helena Scott. And it's just that, these issues are we'll see if we see more of them. But this is another one that it didn't have to be settled in court. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. I'm trying to find out why that was, why they were just able to settle it outside. That was one of the hopes from Gabby's campaign, was that they wouldn't have to take it to court, that the Wayne County campaign finance folks would acknowledge their mistake. That didn't happen, and we're going to find out this week in the Third Circuit, if she gets back on the ballot.
Okay. Sam Robinson runs the Substack Detroit 1 Million. He's been covering the story of City Council member Gabriela Santiago-Romero being disqualified from the August primary ballot. Sam, thanks for your reporting and thanks for joining us on the Metro.
Thanks, Robin.
From the WDET newsroom, Great Lakes research is at risk as the Trump administration pushes to downsize the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NPR reported earlier this month that the White House wants to make major cuts to NOAA, which funds the Cooperative Institute for Great Lakes Research in Ann Arbor. The institute's work includes monitoring toxic algae blooms that can threaten public drinking water, human health, and recreation. The Vatican says the College of Cardinals will meet on May 7th to elect a new pope. The announcement comes after the funeral and burial of Pope Francis over the weekend. Last week on the Metro, we had a conversation with Father Tim McCabe about Pope Francis's legacy. McCabe is the president and CEO of the Pope Francis Center in Detroit. That's an organization helping people experiencing homelessness. You can listen at WDET.org. Coming up, the Detroit Public Schools Community District has been retaining its teachers at rates above the national average. We'll discuss those findings next. This is the Metro. Stay with us.